Money is not merely a thing of numbers, coins, or accounts. It is an idea first formed in consciousness. What we continually hold in thought, we inevitably hold in experience. Long-term wealth is not built by chance or luck, but by invisible laws that respond faithfully to belief, clarity, and alignment. When one understands that money is a servant to thought, rather than a master over it, fear dissolves and order takes its place. Wealth then becomes a natural result, not a desperate pursuit. The rules that govern lasting abundance are simple, yet they demand inner discipline before outer reward appears. The first essential truth is that money responds to direction. Undefined desire produces undefined results. A mind scattered by doubt or contradiction cannot command steady increase. When one gives money a clear purpose, service, growth, stability, it flows with intelligence. Every great fortune begins as a calm decision, not an anxious wish. Impatience blocks the channel, while trust keeps it open. Long-term wealth grows where there is vision large enough to include tomorrow, yet peaceful enough to remain rooted today. Another rule is respect. Money treated with resentment, fear, or guilt withdraws, for it cannot remain where it is dishonored. To speak of lack is to invite it. To speak of order is to establish it. Gratitude is not politeness, it is power. What is appreciated multiplies, because appreciation recognizes supply instead of absence. When spending is done with consciousness and receiving is done without shame, balance is restored. Wealth stays where it is welcomed without desperation and guided without cruelty. Consistency is also a silent law. Sudden effort followed by long neglect creates instability, but steady intention builds foundations that time cannot shake. Small, wise actions repeated faithfully carry more force than dramatic actions born of fear. Long-term wealth favors patience, for patience signals confidence. To rush money is to declare mistrust. To allow it to grow is to affirm certainty. The universe responds swiftly to calm authority, not to emotional urgency. Giving is not loss but circulation. What is held too tightly stagnates. What is released wisely returns enlarged. This does not mean careless generosity, but intelligent openness. When money moves with purpose, it remembers its way back. Hoarding is born of fear, and fear always contracts supply. Confidence expands it. One must give mentally as well as materially, giving up limiting beliefs, old resentments, and the habit of expecting struggle. Finally, long-term wealth obeys the rule of alignment. When actions contradict values, money becomes unstable. When purpose and practice agree, wealth finds permanence. True prosperity is orderly, calm, and sustaining. It supports life instead of exhausting it. When thought, word, and action agree with the idea of abundance as natural and lawful, money ceases to be a problem and becomes a companion, moving forward steadily, quietly, and without resistance. Money follows clear intention, not confusion. Money moves in response to clarity because clarity is the language through which power operates. When intention is vague, results must also be vague, for life mirrors the precision or confusion held in the mind. A person who says they want wealth, but does not decide what wealth is meant to accomplish sends mixed instructions into the unseen. One desire pulls forward while another pulls back, and the result is delay, inconsistency, and frustration. Money cannot organize itself around uncertainty. It requires direction, and direction begins with a definite inner command. Clear intention is not loud or forceful, it is calm and settled. It does not beg or chase. It knows. When the mind rests in knowing, the path opens without strain. Confusion, on the other hand, is emotional noise. It comes from wanting many things at once without order or priority. One moment the desire is freedom, the next it is approval, the next it is security, and money is asked to satisfy all these conflicting demands. In such a state, wealth slips away, because it has no stable form to take. Intention gives form, and form invites fulfillment. To intend clearly is to choose deliberately. Choice is power in motion. A chosen goal gathers energy, an unchosen wish leaks it. Long-term wealth is not the result of wishing often but of deciding once and honoring that decision daily. When intention is clear, actions align naturally without force. Opportunities are recognized instead of overlooked. Distractions lose their attraction because the mind is no longer available to them. Money responds to this inner order as water responds to a well-shaped channel. Fear is the greatest source of confusion. Fear says one thing and believes another. It speaks of success while expecting loss. Under fear, intention constantly changes, seeking safety instead of direction. But money does not follow fear. It follows confidence. Confidence does not require proof, it produces it. A confident intention does not ask how it will happen, only what is to be established. The moment the how is obsessed over, intention weakens and confusion re-enters. Trust simplifies, and simplicity accelerates results. Clear intention also demands honesty. Many people declare desires they do not truly want, borrowing goals from others or from appearances. When intention is borrowed, energy is divided, and money reflects that division. Wealth grows where desire is authentic. What is genuinely wanted is naturally protected, nurtured, and expanded. What is falsely wanted ls heavy and exhausting, and money resists staying in such conditions. Truth clarifies, pretense clouds. Words play a crucial role in shaping intention. Speech is a form of decision repeated aloud. To say I want without commitment keeps desire suspended. To say I choose establishes authority. Careless words scatter power, while deliberate words gather it. Repeating stories of lack, confusion, or instability trains money to behave accordingly. Speaking with certainty, even before evidence appears, sets the pattern that circumstances must follow. Intention must also be singular before it can be expansive. One focused purpose creates more abundance than many competing aims. This does not mean limitation, but sequence. Wealth builds layer by layer, not all at once. When the first intention is fulfilled, it becomes the foundation for the next. Confusion comes from trying to leap without building. Clear intention understands timing and respects process without impatience. Money follows direction because direction implies leadership. Where there is leadership, there is order. Where there is order, there is growth. A leader does not change course daily based on mood or fear. In the same way, one who leads their financial life must remain inwardly steady. Emotional reactions weaken intention, while emotional discipline strengthens it. Calm persistence carries more force than intense effort scattered in many directions. Even setbacks respond differently to clear intention. When purpose is defined, obstacles become instructions rather than discouragements. Confused intention interprets resistance as failure, but clear intention sees it as refinement. Money tests clarity by withdrawing briefly where doubt appears, then returning when certainty is restored. This rhythm is natural and should not be feared. Stability is built by repeatedly choosing clarity over reaction. Ultimately, money does not decide where it goes. Consciousness does. Consciousness that is organized produces wealth that is organized. Consciousness that is scattered produces wealth that is unstable. To master money, one must first master intention. When the inner command is steady, outer conditions rearrange without struggle. Resources appear, relationships align, and timing unfolds with precision because money has finally been given something clear to obey. Gratitude and respect keep wealth flowing. Gratitude is recognition of supply, and recognition strengthens whatever is acknowledged. When money is approached with appreciation instead of complaint, it responds with continuity rather than interruption. Respect is the attitude that allows gratitude to remain active, because one cannot truly appreciate what one secretly resents or mistrusts. Wealth does not flourish in an atmosphere of criticism or bitterness. It moves easily where it is welcomed as a constructive force and treated as something purposeful rather than problematic. Many people unknowingly repel money through their inner dialogue. They speak of it as scarce, stressful, or corrupting, then wonder why it refuses to stay. Thought is invitation. When money is associated with tension, guilt, or fear, it arrives briefly and departs quickly. Gratitude changes this pattern by shifting attention from effort to flow. It acknowledges what is present rather than obsessing over what is missing. This acknowledgement is not passive, it is directive. It tells life that supply is noticed, valued, and expected to continue. Respect for money is shown through order. Disorder signals disregard. When finances are ignored, mishandled, or treated carelessly, money reflects that neglect. Respect does not require perfection, but it does require awareness. Keeping track, making conscious decisions, and honoring commitments all communicate stability. Wealth prefers stability because stability allows growth. Gratitude supports this order by removing resentment from responsibility. What is resented is avoided, what is appreciated is maintained. Gratitude also dissolves impatience. Impatience implies lack, while gratitude implies sufficiency. Long-term wealth cannot coexist with constant urgency, because urgency fragments attention. When one is grateful for present resources, however modest, those resources are used more wisely. Wise use multiplies value. Money expands in environments where it is not forced to prove itself but allowed to serve its purpose naturally. Respect extends beyond spending into receiving. Many people feel unworthy of abundance, and unconsciously block it by minimizing, refusing, or doubting opportunities. True respect allows money to arrive without embarrassment or self-judgment. Receiving is as important as giving, because both are movements of circulation. Gratitude keeps this circulation balanced. Without gratitude, receiving feels uncomfortable, and giving feels draining. With gratitude, both feel natural and reinforcing. The way money is spoken about in daily conversation reveals the level of respect held for it. Casual complaints, jokes about being broke, or constant comparisons create an atmosphere of dismissal. Words are seeds. Seeds planted repeatedly produce predictable harvests. Respectful language does not exaggerate wealth or deny challenges. It simply avoids declaring defeat. Gratitude speaks calmly of progress, learning, and provision, keeping the mental environment fertile. Respect also involves boundaries. Spending without intention, lending without clarity, or agreeing to financial obligations without discernment weakens the relationship with money. Boundaries are not restriction, they are definition. Money needs definition to function effectively. Gratitude for what money can do encourages thoughtful choices about where it goes. Thoughtful choices create patterns, and patterns create predictability. Predictability is the foundation of long-term wealth. When gratitude becomes habitual, it alters perception. Opportunities that were once invisible become obvious. This is not coincidence but awareness sharpening. A grateful mind is attentive, not distracted by complaint. It notices value where others see inconvenience. Respect sustains this attentiveness by preventing entitlement. Entitlement assumes supply without responsibility, while gratitude recognizes supply with humility. Humility keeps the channel open because it does not challenge the source. Even challenges with money can be met with gratitude, not for the difficulty itself, but for the lesson and adjustment it brings. This attitude prevents bitterness, which is one of the fastest ways to halt financial flow. Bitterness anchors attention to the past, while wealth requires movement forward. Respect for money includes respecting its timing. Some returns are immediate, others are cumulative. Gratitude allows patience, and patience protects long-term vision. Gratitude is not denial of desire. One can want more while appreciating what is present. In fact, appreciation clarifies desire by removing desperation from it. Respect ensures that desire remains constructive rather than consuming. When money is treated as a cooperative force instead of an adversary, it aligns with purpose more easily. Cooperation produces sustainability, not strain. Wealth that flows without gratitude often comes with instability, because it lacks emotional grounding. Wealth that is respected and appreciated settles in and grows roots. It becomes supportive rather than overwhelming. Gratitude stabilizes emotions, and stable emotions make consistent decisions possible. Consistent decisions are the architecture of lasting prosperity. Money responds to atmosphere as much as action. An atmosphere of appreciation invites increase. An atmosphere of contempt invites loss. Respect keeps money engaged, gratitude keeps it moving. Together, they form a rhythm of circulation that does not exhaust itself, allowing wealth to remain active, responsive, and continually unfolding in alignment with conscious intention. Consistent actions create lasting prosperity. Consistency is the quiet force that transforms intention into structure. While enthusiasm ignites action, it is repetition that gives it form and endurance. Wealth that lasts is never the product of sudden intensity followed by neglect, but of steady movement sustained over time. Money trusts patterns more than promises. When actions repeat with reliability, money recognizes safety, and where there is safety, it settles and multiplies. Many people mistake consistency for boredom, believing progress must always feel dramatic to be effective. In truth, dramatic effort often signals instability, while calm repetition signals mastery. Small actions carried out regularly carry greater power than large actions performed irregularly. Each repeated choice reinforces identity, and identity determines financial behavior more than motivation ever can. When one behaves daily as a steward of wealth, wealth responds accordingly. Consistency creates rhythm, and rhythm creates momentum. Without rhythm, effort feels heavy and disjointed. With rhythm, action becomes natural, almost automatic. This is why habits shape outcomes more reliably than goals. A goal exists in the future, but a habit exists, in the present. Long-term wealth is built in the present moment, through repeated decisions that align with long-range vision. Consistency bridges the gap between where one is and where one intends to be. Inconsistent action sends mixed signals. One day careful, the next careless. 1 month disciplined, the next reactive. Money mirrors this behavior by appearing and disappearing unpredictably. Stability cannot grow in an environment that changes direction constantly. Consistency communicates trustworthiness, and trustworthiness attracts opportunity. Lenders, partners, systems, and even timing respond favorably to those who demonstrate reliability over time. Patience is embedded within consistency. To act consistently is to believe that results will compound, even when they are not immediately visible. Impatience breaks consistency because it demands proof before commitment. But wealth responds after commitment, not before it. Those who stop because results are small interrupt the very process that produces expansion. Consistency understands that growth is cumulative, not instant. Consistency also protects against emotional decision-making. Emotions fluctuate, but principles remain steady. When actions are guided by established rules rather than moods, progress continues regardless of external circumstances. This steadiness is especially powerful in financial matters, where fear and excitement often lead to extremes. Consistent behavior moderates these extremes, preventing reckless risk during excitement and paralysis during fear. Over time, consistency builds self-trust. Each kept commitment strengthens confidence, and confidence influences how money is handled. A person who trusts themselves does not sabotage progress through doubt or avoidance. They follow through. Follow-through is rare, and rarity attracts reward. Money remains where follow-through is dependable, because dependability reduces chaos. Consistency does not require perfection. Missed steps do not destroy progress, abandonment does. Returning quickly to aligned behavior preserves momentum. Long-term wealth is forgiving of mistakes but intolerant of neglect. Consistency allows learning without collapse. It absorbs error and continues forward, refining rather than restarting. This ability to continue is more valuable than flawless execution. The compounding effect of consistency is often underestimated because it is subtle at first. Early efforts seem insignificant, leading many to abandon them prematurely. Yet each repeated action adds weight to the scale. Over time, the accumulation becomes undeniable. What once seemed small becomes substantial through repetition. This principle applies equally to saving, investing, learning, networking, and decision-making. Consistency also clarifies priorities. What is done repeatedly is what truly matters. When actions contradict stated values, inconsistency reveals misalignment. Adjusting behavior restores integrity. Integrity strengthens financial outcomes because it reduces inner conflict. Inner conflict drains energy and attention, while alignment concentrates them. Concentrated energy produces results with less effort. Long-term wealth favors those who can delay gratification without resentment. Consistency trains this ability naturally. Repeating disciplined choices builds tolerance for waiting, and waiting expands capacity for growth. Those who require immediate rewards struggle to maintain consistent behavior, because consistency often operates without applause. Yet it is precisely this quiet effort that builds enduring structures. Systems thrive on consistency, whether personal or external. Systems amplify repeated input. A system fed sporadically performs poorly, while one fed regularly becomes efficient. Money moves through systems, and systems reward those who engage them consistently. Showing up regularly, contributing regularly, and improving regularly positions one within the flow of opportunity. Consistency simplifies life. Decisions become fewer because patterns are established. Less energy is wasted on debate and hesitation. This simplicity frees attention for higher-level thinking and expansion. Wealth grows more easily when mental space is not consumed by constant reevaluation. In the end, consistent actions create predictability, and predictability creates security. Security invites growth. Money does not need excitement, it needs assurance. Consistency provides that assurance quietly, steadily, and without drama, allowing wealth to develop depth, strength, and permanence over time. Giving wisely activates circulation and return. Giving is movement, and movement is the signal of life. Money, like all forms of energy, is designed to circulate. When it is allowed to move with intention, it remains active and responsive. When it is held rigidly out of fear, it loses vitality. Wise giving is not sacrifice, it is participation in flow. It acknowledges that abundance is sustained through exchange, not through hoarding. What moves returns transformed, because circulation multiplies value. Giving wisely begins with understanding purpose. Not all giving is equal, and not all generosity produces return. When giving is driven by guilt, pressure, or the desire for approval, it weakens the giver and confuses the flow. Such giving feels draining because it is not aligned. Wise giving is deliberate, calm, and grounded in clarity. It supports growth rather than depletion. Money recognizes intention behind action, not the size of the action itself. Circulation requires balance. Giving without receiving breaks the circuit just as much as receiving without giving. Long-term wealth depends on maintaining this balance. Those who give endlessly without allowing return often experience exhaustion or resentment, while those who receive without giving experience instability. Wise circulation honors both directions equally. It allows money to leave without fear and return without resistance. Fear is the primary reason people block circulation. Fear says that if money leaves, it may not come back. This belief freezes movement and creates stagnation. Stagnation eventually leads to loss because unused energy deteriorates. Wise giving dissolves fear by proving continuity. Each conscious act of release reinforces trust in return. Trust strengthens the channel through which money flows. Giving wisely also requires discernment. Not every opportunity to give is an obligation. Saying yes indiscriminately disperses energy, while saying yes selectively concentrates it. Concentrated energy produces stronger results. Wealth grows where resources are directed, not scattered. Wise giving aligns with values, goals, and timing. It feels expansive rather than burdensome. The idea of return is often misunderstood. Return does not always come from the same direction as the giving. Money operates through networks, not straight lines. What is given in one place may return through another opportunity, connection, or insight. Expecting direct repayment limits perception. Wise circulation remains open to unexpected pathways, trusting the larger pattern rather than demanding immediate evidence. Giving also includes investing in growth, not just charity. Time, money, and attention given toward learning, improvement, and contribution create long-term expansion. Such giving compounds because it increases capacity. Capacity attracts more opportunity. Opportunity generates more circulation. This cycle sustains itself when giving is guided by vision instead of impulse. Wise giving respects boundaries. Lending without clarity, supporting without structure, or rescuing without responsibility disrupts circulation. It traps money in unresolved patterns. Healthy giving empowers rather than enables. It strengthens both giver and receiver. Money prefers exchanges that elevate because elevation creates new levels of flow. There is also mental giving, which is often overlooked. Releasing limiting beliefs, old fears, and scarcity narratives clears space for abundance. Holding on to negative expectations consumes energy that could otherwise circulate freely. Mental generosity toward oneself and others removes resistance. Resistance is invisible blockage. When resistance dissolves, movement accelerates. Giving wisely includes gratitude for the act of giving itself. Gratitude confirms sufficiency. One cannot give sincerely while believing they are lacking. Even small acts of giving affirm inner abundance. This affirmation shifts identity from scarcity to supply. Identity shapes behavior, and behavior shapes outcomes. Wealth responds to those who identify as participants in flow rather than victims of circumstance. Circulation also requires patience. Returns unfold according to rhythm, not demand. Impatience interrupts flow by reintroducing fear. Wise giving releases attachment to timing. It trusts sequence. This trust stabilizes emotions, preventing reactive decisions that undermine progress. Stability keeps the channel open. When money circulates wisely, it carries information. Each exchange teaches something about value, alignment, and timing. Attention to these lessons refines future giving. Refinement improves results. Over time, giving becomes increasingly effective, producing greater impact with less effort. Wise circulation creates resilience. When money moves regularly, it does not shock the system when amounts fluctuate. Flow absorbs variation. Stagnation magnifies it. Those accustomed to circulation adapt easily, because movement is familiar. Adaptability supports long-term wealth by preventing panic during change. Giving wisely transforms the relationship with money from control to cooperation. Control restricts, cooperation expands. Money responds more generously when treated as a partner rather than a possession. Partnership implies respect, trust, and shared purpose. Shared purpose strengthens return. As circulation continues, fear diminishes and confidence grows. Confidence refines judgment. Refined judgment improves decisions. Improved decisions enhance outcomes. The cycle strengthens itself through repetition. What once required effort becomes natural. Wise giving does not weaken wealth, it educates it. It teaches money where it is most effective. Effectiveness attracts expansion. Expansion creates new opportunities for circulation. The system remains alive, responsive, and sustainable because nothing is PP. Nothing is forced, and nothing is withheld out of fear. Alignment of thought and action stabilizes wealth. Alignment is the state in which thought, word, and action move in the same direction without inner resistance. When these three agree, effort becomes efficient and results stabilize. Wealth that lasts is never accidental. It is the outcome of internal coherence expressed externally. When values are unclear or behavior contradicts belief, money becomes restless, appearing briefly and leaving quickly. Stability requires agreement within, because disagreement creates friction, and friction disrupts flow. Thought is the blueprint. It determines what feels possible, acceptable, or inevitable. When thoughts about money are conflicted, actions follow suit. One may work diligently while secretly believing success is unsafe or undeserved. This contradiction weakens outcomes because energy is divided. Alignment begins with examining inner assumptions and correcting those that oppose desired results. A mind that believes in struggle will unconsciously recreate it, regardless of effort. Words give movement to thought. What is spoken repeatedly becomes instruction. Casual statements carry authority when repeated without awareness. Saying one wants abundance while speaking constantly of difficulty sends opposing commands. Money responds to the strongest pattern, not the loudest desire. Aligned speech reinforces aligned thought. It does not exaggerate or deny reality. It simply avoids reinforcing limitation. Precision in language creates precision in outcomes. Action completes the circuit. Without aligned action, thought and word remain abstract. Yet action taken without aligned thought becomes exhausting. Many people act constantly but see little progress because their actions are driven by fear or comparison, rather than purpose. Alignment ensures that action is guided, not reactive. Guided action conserves energy and builds momentum. Momentum stabilizes progress. When alignment is present, decisions become simpler. There is less hesitation because inner conflict has diminished. Choices are evaluated against values rather than impulses. This reduces regret and inconsistency. Money benefits from this clarity because clarity produces predictable behavior. Predictable behavior creates trust, and trust attracts long-term opportunity. Misalignment often appears as self-sabotage. Opportunities arise but they are mishandled or avoided. Success feels uncomfortable, so it is unconsciously reduced. This pattern continues until alignment is restored. Restoring alignment requires honesty. One must be willing to release identities that conflict with growth, even if those identities once provided comfort or familiarity. Values play a central role in alignment. When money is pursued in ways that contradict personal values, it brings tension instead of security. This tension eventually leads to burnout or loss. Wealth that supports life rather than consumes. T is built through congruence. When financial goals serve values, energy increases instead of draining. Money then becomes supportive rather than demanding. Alignment also affects timing. When actions are aligned, they occur at the right pace. There is neither rushing nor delay born of fear. Timing aligns naturally because intuition sharpens. Intuition is often dismissed, but it is simply perception unobstructed by inner conflict. When alignment is strong, intuition becomes a reliable guide in financial decisions. Relationships with money improve through alignment. Guilt dissolves because actions are no longer betraying beliefs. Anxiety reduces because choices are no longer scattered. Calm replaces urgency. Calm attracts stability. Stability attracts sustainability. Wealth grows where nervous energy is absent. External pressure is a common source of misalignment. Expectations from family, culture, or comparison can push behavior away from inner truth. Money earned under pressure rarely stays because it lacks emotional grounding. Releasing pressure restores alignment. This does not mean rejecting ambition, but refining it. Ambition guided by alignment is constructive. Ambition driven by approval is exhausting. Alignment requires consistency over time. A single aligned decision helps, but repeated alignment builds identity. Identity shapes habits, and habits shape outcomes. When someone identifies as aligned, they naturally make choices that reinforce stability. Money responds to identity because identity determines long-term behavior. Even setbacks are handled differently when alignment exists. Instead of panic, there is adjustment. Instead of blame, there is learning. Learning strengthens alignment further. Each correction refines direction. Money remains engaged because engagement is maintained through responsiveness rather than avoidance. Inner alignment also influences risk. Aligned risk is calculated and purposeful. Misaligned risk is impulsive or fearful. The same action can produce different outcomes depending on alignment. Investing from clarity differs entirely from investing from desperation. Money recognizes the difference through results. Alignment simplifies complexity. When values are clear, unnecessary options fall away. Fewer choices reduce mental fatigue. Reduced fatigue improves judgment. Improved judgment enhances consistency. Consistency stabilizes growth. The system becomes self-reinforcing. Long-term wealth requires endurance, and endurance is sustained by meaning. Meaning comes from alignment. Without meaning, effort eventually collapses. With meaning, effort renews itself. Money supports what is meaningful because meaning commands attention and care. Alignment does not eliminate challenge, but it prevents chaos. Challenges are met with structure rather than reaction. Structure absorbs pressure without breaking. Money prefers structure because structure preserves value. When thought affirms abundance, words affirm order, and actions affirm responsibility, wealth finds a stable environment. Stability allows expansion without strain. Expansion without strain supports longevity. Longevity transforms success into legacy. Alignment turns money from an external goal into an integrated function of life. It stops being something chased and becomes something coordinated. Coordination replaces struggle. Coordination maintains balance. Balance sustains growth. As alignment deepens, trust increases. Trust reduces resistance. Reduced resistance increases flow. Flow refines timing. Timing improves outcomes. Outcomes reinforce belief. Belief strengthens alignment. The cycle continues quietly, steadily, and without conflict,